Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm sorry about the lack of weekly roundups in the last couple of weeks, but we've been having a chat at Cuttlefish and we think we're going to try something slightly different. Basically, instead of going over all of the biggest news stories of the week, what we're going to do instead is look at one news story and really go into some depth in it. So without further ado, let's talk about the refugee crisis. The refugee crisis is not a new story. Let's not forget that refugees have been coming to Britain for, tens and tens of years. In fact, even in the 1930s, we had Jewish refugees fleeing from Nazi Germany, which the Daily Mail were as happy about as they are about the current crisis. But the situation has been brought back to attention in recent weeks, with Priti Patel being particularly vocal on the issue. Now, I don't want to get into the political infighting between the Labour Party, the Conservatives, and of course Ben & Jerry's, but I think there are some very important details and facts that we need to talk about. Well, let's first talk about what a refugee is. Well, a refugee is someone who has left their country due to war, natural disaster, or persecution. Now, the person doesn't have to go directly to the next country. As long as they don't stay for a long period of time in any country, they can still be counted as a refugee. Now, refugees are not illegal, and please remember that the people we're talking about here are real people with hopes and dreams and just looking for their best life and for the lives of their families. But this is where it gets a bit complicated when it comes to Britain. See, while refugees are legal, it is illegal to smuggle people into Britain, especially via the Channel, but also via any means. But as a result of people having to cross the Channel to get into Britain, many people go via these smugglers to get them in, and that is illegal. So if it's so dangerous to cross the Channel, why do so many people do it? Well, firstly, France has got infamously bad conditions for refugees, and many people just don't want to stay there. In addition to this, smugglers often decide where people end up, and if these smugglers speak English or have contacts in Britain, then of course they're going to bring people to Britain instead of leaving them in France or Spain or other countries. But also, let's not forget that Britain holds just 1% of the world's refugees. In fact, almost every other nation in Europe holds more than us. Many more. Britain holds approximately 40,000 refugees, while countries such as Lebanon and Germany hold over 1 million, Jordan holds nearly 3 million, and Turkey holds over 3.5 million refugees. 76% of all asylum seeker claims are made into France, Spain, Germany, and Greece. Furthermore, 85% of refugees actually stay in a country bordering their own. So this whole idea that people are going all the way through Europe just to get to Britain is just, not true. But we also do need to weigh up what are the economic costs of taking refugees, because there are some, and to say there aren't wouldn't be a fair argument. Recently, Kent Council said that they have been taking too many refugees and they can't take any more, although it should be pointed out that they said that if the problem was spread around the country, then it would be dealt with fairly easily. The cost of refugees is a very hard number to ascertain, but the Red Cross in 2015 put the number at about £150 million. Now, to put that into context, in the first week of the Eat Out to Help Out scheme, we spent £100 million. Now, the other thing that's often talked about is benefits. So this is where it's a bit complicated. Illegal immigrants do not get any benefits, but refugees do. I'll go into that in more detail later. But first, the difference between illegal immigrants and refugees are that refugees have been granted asylum and have given in the form and have done the whole process, while illegal immigrants have not. But even for refugees, the benefits are capped. You don't get unlimited amounts of money. And in addition to that, life can be pretty hard while you're waiting for the government to say yes to your benefits. For a start, it's almost impossible to get a job. There's only a few jobs that you're even allowed to get, and some of these jobs are things like nuclear physicists, which there aren't that many coming over, frankly. Doctors and nurses are not allowed to work, and in addition to that, many of these people's degrees, despite all the education and experience they might have, are just not valid in Britain. Also, while they are given a home when they arrive, they're given a very measly budget amounting to just over £30 a week. So overall, Britain take in far fewer refugees than most other countries in Europe, and we probably spend more money trying to stop refugees getting into the country than we do on the ones that are actually here. But aside from the costs and the figures, let's just think about the human factor here. Every year, around 2,000 refugees die crossing the Mediterranean, and it seems almost weekly that we hear of another story of another child who has died crossing the Channel. We need to assess the human factor here, and we need to really think about what we would want if we were fleeing our countries. Maybe, even though the numbers actually support bringing in refugees, even if they didn't, what we should do is look at the human factor and think about what is the morally right thing to do.